Alex Eala enters this match as the top seed, as the most dangerous left-hander on the grass court circuit right now, and as the woman the Philippines has been waiting on for years to take that final step toward a Grand Slam breakthrough. But there is one uncomfortable truth sitting beneath the surface of this entire matchup that most supporters have not allowed themselves to look at directly. And by the time this analysis is finished, you will understand why that truth makes today one of the most psychologically loaded matches of Alex Eala's career so far. Because here is the question that every honest analyst is sitting with this week. Alex Eala is talented enough to win Wimbledon someday. Almost everyone in the tennis world agrees on that. But is she mentally free enough to win this match today, in Birmingham, against an opponent who has nothing to lose after 3 consecutive losses, carrying the weight of a nation that has been dreaming alongside her for years? That is the question. That is what everything in this analysis is building toward. And the answer is not as obvious as you might think. Let us start at the beginning, because the full story of how Alex Eala arrives at this match matters enormously to understanding what happens next. 2 years ago, she was ranked 160th in the world. Not a headline, not a top seed, not a national standard bearer in any official sense. She was a promising young player educated at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, trained under a philosophy that treats mental toughness not as a secondary skill but as the foundation upon which everything else is built. She was grinding through qualifying draws at mid-level tournaments, collecting experience, collecting losses, collecting the kind of hard-won education that cannot be bought or accelerated, only lived through. And now, 2 years later, she is ranked world number 37. She holds a career high of 29, which is the highest ranking ever recorded by a Filipino tennis player in history, and she stands in Birmingham as the number 1 seed with a grass court record of 15 wins and 8 losses that tells you this is not simply a surface she tolerates. This is a surface where Alex Eala genuinely thrives. But something happened between Rome in the spring and Birmingham this week that every supporter needs to understand before the match begins. Alex Eala has not won a professional singles match in 3 consecutive attempts. 3 losses in a row during the clay season, including a first-round exit at Roland Garros against Ivajovic, the American-ranked world number 17, a match that ended 6-4, 6-2. Those losses have dropped her from that career high of 29 down to 37. And while losing to a top 20 opponent is nothing to be ashamed of for a 21-year-old, the psychological reality of arriving at the first match of the grass season as the top seed, carrying 3 consecutive losses, facing a surface transition from clay, and knowing that the entire Filipino tennis community is watching and expecting, is a weight that no statistic fully captures. This is where Priscilla Hon becomes genuinely dangerous. And this is the part of the story that most Eala supporters have been too comfortable to fully engage with. Priscilla Hon is 27 years old, Australian, Brisbane-born, a WTA Tour professional with 8 years of competitive experience. She is ranked 143rd in the world, nearly 100 positions below Eala, and she arrives in Birmingham on her own losing streak stretching back to March. On the surface, every data point reads as advantage Eala. But here is what the data does not capture. Priscilla Hon walks onto this court carrying absolutely no psychological weight. No expectation. No seed to defend. No nation watching and hoping. She is a professional on a losing streak who needs a win to feel like herself again, and that freedom, that complete absence of external pressure, is one of the most dangerous psychological states a tennis player can occupy against an opponent loaded with the opposite. Experienced analysts know this pattern. They have seen it hundreds of times. The lower-ranked underdog who plays freely, who swings without fear, who hits shots that carry no consequence if they miss and enormous consequence if they land, has toppled top seeds at every level of this sport since professional tennis began. And Hon, who has beaten Eala before, who holds an even head-to-head split with the Filipino at 1 win each from their 2 previous meetings, will not walk onto this court intimidated. She will walk on free. Now here is where the analysis goes somewhere most previews of this match have not taken it. That head-to-head record of 1 win each tells only half the story. Both previous meetings were played on hard courts. Hon won their first encounter in 2023 at the Roehampton qualifying event. Eala won their second in Ningbo, China in 2024. Which means that today, on the grass courts of Birmingham, these two players are meeting on this surface for the very first time in their careers. Neither player has any reference point for how the other performs in direct competition on grass. And that bilateral uncertainty is exactly the kind of variable that allows a dangerous underdog to find a way through on a day when the favorite is not yet fully settled. But here is what changes everything about Eala's side of this picture. And this is the detail that, once you understand it, reframes the entire match in her favor. Alex Eala is left-handed. On a fast grass court, that is not simply an advantage. It is a structural weapon that reshapes every single service game she plays. When Eala serves wide to the deuce court against a right-handed player, the ball kicks and slides away in a direction that runs directly counter to every trained muscle memory a right-hander has spent years developing. The returner has to reach, lunge, and recover, and by the time they make contact they are already off balance, already pulled out of the court, already surrendering the geometry that Eala will immediately attack with her second ball. On a grass surface where points end in 3 or 4 shots, where the ball accelerates through the court rather than sitting up for the returner, that left-handed serve is not a technical advantage. It is a match-shaping weapon that compounds across an entire match, creating patterns of disruption and pressure that Hon, who is right-handed and who has never faced this delivery from Eala on this surface, will have to solve in real time with no preparation data to guide her. And the serve is not the only weapon that grass amplifies. Eala's entire game profile is built for this surface. She does not grind. She does not rely on extended clay court rallies where consistency wins the point on the 20th shot. She attacks. She looks for the angle, the opening, the short ball she can step into and redirect with flat, driving pace that skids through a grass court and forces errors before the opponent can reset. Her two-handed backhand down the line has become one of the cleanest shots in her current game. Her forehand, driven wide and deep into the corner, creates court geometry that leads directly to the next winner. On clay, aggressive players can be neutralized by opponents who simply keep the ball in play. On grass, the surface itself becomes an ally of the aggressor. The ball does the work. And Eala's game, from first serve to first ball attack to closing winner, is aligned with what this surface rewards at its most fundamental level. Now let us talk about Priscilla Hon's tactical plan, because she will arrive with one. 8 years of professional experience means Hon does not walk into matches without specific intentions. Her game is built on patience and placement. She constructs points methodically, using depth and consistency to push opponents behind the baseline, removing the inside-the-court positioning that aggressive players like Eala need to execute their best tennis. She will try to keep her first serve percentage high enough that Eala cannot attack the second ball consistently. She will look for cross-court exchanges that extend rally length beyond what the surface naturally wants to produce. She will attempt to slow this match down to a tempo that resembles clay court tennis, where her patience and experience carry more weight. That is a real plan. That is a competent tactical approach. But here is the problem with it. Grass does not cooperate. The surface itself is already doing what Hon needs to prevent. Every time the ball lands on this court it accelerates, stays low, and demands a decisive response from whoever is receiving it. Patience on grass is not a virtue. It is a liability. A tactical plan that asks the court to slow down is a plan that grass will consistently refuse to honor. There is one specific scenario in this match that every Eala supporter needs to be mentally prepared for, because pretending it cannot happen would be dishonest analysis. If Hon manages to break Eala's serve in the opening set, if the nerves of a top seed carrying a 3-match losing streak combine with the freedom of an underdog playing without fear to produce an early break, the crowd goes quiet and this match changes its entire character. Suddenly Eala is chasing. Suddenly Hon has something to play for. Suddenly the pressure that should sit exclusively on the lower-ranked player distributes itself across both ends of the court. And in that scenario, the match becomes a genuine test of the one quality in Eala's game that statistics can hint at but never fully measure: her mental resilience. And this is where the story of last year's Eastbourne final becomes not just a career highlight but the most important evidence in this entire analysis. At Eastbourne 2025, Eala came through the qualifying rounds. She earned her place in the main draw through qualification, then kept earning it match by match. She defeated Lucia Bronzetti. She defeated Yelena Ostapenko, a former Roland Garros champion, one of the most physically devastating ball strikers on the WTA Tour, a player who has been making grass court specialists uncomfortable for over a decade. Eala did not merely survive Ostapenko on that grass court. She defeated her with intent, with tactical clarity, and with composure under fire that players twice her age struggle to maintain. She continued to the final against Australia's Maya Joint, and in that final she was 2 points from a WTA 250 title on multiple occasions, with championship points saved against her in a third-set tiebreak that eventually went 10-8. She lost that tiebreak. She lost the match. But she competed from the first point to the final point without ever cracking, without ever retreating into the defensive hesitance that ends competitive careers early. That performance under pressure is the most important data point in this entire analysis. More important than the ranking. More important than the head-to-head. More important than any surface statistic. Because it tells you what Alex Eala does when everything is on the line and the match is not going the way she planned. She fights. She lifts. She finds another level. And that is not a quality every talented player possesses. That is a rare competitive characteristic that only reveals itself in high-pressure moments. Eala has revealed it, repeatedly. And Hon, for all her experience, has not demonstrated that same quality against opponents of the caliber Eala has already beaten on this surface. Here is something else the casual observer overlooks completely. Alex Eala's ranking rise from 160th to 37th in 2 years is not built on easy wins at lower-level events. It is built on beating quality opponents at tournaments where points are earned against real competition. The wins over top 20 players in her recent career history. The third-round US Open run in 2025. The Eastbourne final. These are not statistical padding. These are performances that prove the ranking is real, the trajectory is real, and the ceiling above where she currently stands is genuinely higher than most people outside the sport have begun to understand. Now let us talk about what a win today actually means in the broader picture, because this match in Birmingham is not an isolated event. It is the first step of a preparation runway that leads directly to Wimbledon. The championships begin June 29th. Eala has wildcard invitations to events in the weeks ahead, including Bad Homburg. Every match she wins between now and that draw matters. Every hour she spends competing on grass sharpens the weapons and builds the psychological momentum that a deep Wimbledon run requires. A left-handed, aggressive player with a proven ability to beat Grand Slam champions on grass is exactly the profile that makes Wimbledon seedings uncomfortable when that player arrives with momentum behind them. And it all begins today. Think about what it means to the Philippines. Not to tennis analytics or ranking projections, but to the country that has been watching this young woman from Quezon City carry their flag into professional tennis arenas across the world. Think about every Filipino child who watched Grand Slam tennis on a screen and felt the distance between themselves and that world as something absolute, something that could be admired but never truly crossed. Alex Eala is crossing that distance. She has already crossed it in historic ways. Highest ranking ever. First Filipino to break the top 30. First to reach a tour-level final. But the journey is not finished. The journey is still being written right now on this grass court in Birmingham, with everything that comes next still undecided. That is why today matters. Not just as a tennis match. Not just as a first-round result. But as a moment in a story that belongs to an entire nation and has not yet reached its most important chapter. Now here is the final dimension of this match that pure surface statistics and tactical profiles have not yet addressed. And it may be the most decisive factor of all. Alex Eala lost in the first round of Roland Garros against Jovic, then flew to Birmingham and immediately entered the doubles draw alongside Czech partner Nikola Bardunkova. That doubles match, played just 1 day before today's singles, was lost in a super tiebreak after Eala and Bardunkova built a 4-0 lead in the opening set before the British pair of Harriet Dart and Maya Lumsden won 6 consecutive games to take it. Another close loss. Another match where the lead disappeared. And now, within 24 hours of that doubles defeat, Eala steps onto center court for the match that defines the start of her grass season. How does she feel walking onto that court? That is the question most analysts never ask because it cannot be answered with data. But it is the question that contains the entire match. A player who arrives carrying the weight of every recent loss, who walks into her service motion with the ghost of every broken game from the last 3 weeks, is a completely different player from one who has mentally closed those chapters and arrived with a clear head and an open game. Nobody watching from the outside can know with certainty which version of Eala steps onto center court today. What the career evidence says is this. The version of Eala that defeated Ostapenko, that competed in a third-set tiebreak for a WTA 250 title with championship points being saved against her and never stopped believing, is fully capable of walking onto this court, shaking off Paris and the doubles result, and playing the aggressive, decisive, left-handed grass court tennis that Priscilla Hon simply has no reliable answer for. Watch the opening games carefully. Watch whether Eala attacks the return position or hangs back in a defensive posture. Watch what her body language says after the first error. Those early signals will tell you almost everything about how the rest of this match unfolds. A confident Eala, serving with control and attacking the second ball without hesitation, is a player that a 143rd ranked opponent on a losing streak cannot contain on this surface. A cautious Eala, feeling the weight of expectation, holding back on the big shots, letting Hon stay in games that should be decided by the third or fourth shot, gives the Australian a real mash. And the difference between those two versions is not talent. It is freedom. It is the ability to step onto a tennis court, forget the scoreboard and the ranking and the nation watching, and simply play. The Rafael Nadal Academy does not produce players who are undermined by pressure. It produces players who are defined by their response to it. Eala absorbed that philosophy at the exact developmental stage when it embeds most deeply. Pressure activates her. The evidence says so. And today, on this grass court, with Wimbledon 6 weeks away and the entire grass season waiting to be written, the pressure is exactly the kind that this player has shown, time and again, she knows how to use. So here is the verdict. After everything in this analysis, after the tactical examination of the left-handed serve advantage, after the honest acknowledgement of how dangerous a free and experienced Priscilla Hon can be, after the head-to-head context and the unknown of their first grass court meeting, after the evidence of Eastbourne and the US Open and the career wins over top 10 players, after the psychological weight of a 3-match losing streak meeting the psychological freedom of an underdog, the full analytical assessment comes down clearly on one side. Alex Eala is the strong favorite in this match. Her game was built for this surface. Her serve is a structural weapon that compounds across every service game. Her mental resilience under pressure is documented and proven at the highest levels this surface has offered her. Her ranking trajectory is that of a player ascending, not plateauing. Her grass court record of 15 wins and 8 losses confirms that this is her territory. And her opponent, dangerous and experienced and free as she is, arrives on a surface where her career record sits below 50%, against a player whose entire game profile aligns with what fast grass courts reward. The prediction leans clearly and strongly toward an Alex Eala victory, almost certainly in straight sets if she serves well and attacks from the first game. But more than the result, what this match represents is a moment of reset, where the clay season gets left behind and the grass season begins with intent, with the confident attacking tennis that every Eala supporter has been waiting all spring to see again. Leave your score prediction in the comments right now. Tell us whether Eala goes through cleanly or whether Hon makes this closer than anyone expects. Share this with every Filipino tennis fan you know, because the player wearing the Philippine flag is the top seed with the most naturally suited game on this court and the grass season has officially begun. She is still here. She is still rising. And she is coming onto this court today ready to prove it to everyone who watched the clay season and started to wonder. Laban Lang, Alex. Everything you have built leads to this moment. The grass is ready. The Philippines is watching. Go show the world exactly who you are. Scriptif, and before this analysis closes, there is one final thing worth saying that goes deeper than any tactical breakdown or surface statistic can reach. Professional tennis demands sacrifice on a scale most people never appreciate from the outside. It demands that a young person leave home, travel to a foreign country to train at an academy where everything is unfamiliar, carry the loneliness of distance alongside the pressure of performance, and do all of it while being asked to represent something far larger than a tennis match. Alex Eala did all of that. She trained at the Nadal Academy in Mallorca from the years when her game was still unformed. She played the qualifying draws nobody photographed and processed the losses nobody wrote about. And through all of it, she carried the knowledge that back home a nation was watching and believing in a way that no Filipino tennis player before her had ever been asked to sustain. The career-high ranking of 29. The Eastbourne Final. The wins over top 10 opponents. The first Filipino to break into the top 30 in WTA history. These are not just tennis achievements. They are cultural landmarks. They are moments that changed what a generation of Filipino young athletes believe is possible. And that legacy gets built match by match, surface by surface, in arenas from Paris to Birmingham to wherever the season takes her next. Today, that legacy takes its next step. The grass court is ready. The opponent is known, respected, and genuinely dangerous. And Alex Eala walks onto center court as exactly what she has earned the right to be. The top seed, the favorite, the pride of a nation, and a player whose best tennis is still ahead of her. Win today, and the road to Wimbledon opens with the right psychology beneath every step she takes on it. Win today, and the question this analysis asked at the very beginning gets its most important answer. The Philippines is not just watching. The Philippines is ready. Laban Lang, Alex. This is your surface. This is your moment. This is where the real story of your 2026 season begins.